We're at the intersection of 34th and Portland in Minneapolis. Right behind me is the telephone pole where Renee Good's vehicle came to rest. She was shot just over there as she was trying to navigate around ICE vehicles and the ICE agent who shot her. There's a palpable sense of fear in this community. A lot of folks won't talk on camera, even faith leaders, because they are terrified that the federal government is going to knock in the doors of their church. This is Sunday, the first Sunday after the shooting of Renee Nicole Good, and it begs the question, what are faith leaders talking about to their congregations today? It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. I just returned from Minneapolis, both inspired by the conversations I had over the past few days and deeply worried about where our country is headed. This is what I saw on Saturday at Powderhorn Park, just a few blocks from where Renee Good was killed. The crowd seemed to go on forever. I did a live report here. I'll share clips of that at the end of this video, but there were so many people that cell service dropped off completely. We knocked on the door of one of the homes overlooking the park to see if we could borrow their Wi-Fi, and without hesitation, they said, of course. I share that story both to give credit to my crew for their problem solving, but mostly to give credit to Minneapolis. I don't know what Kristi Noem and ICE were thinking that they could somehow intimidate this city. The people I met that I talked to over the past few days are not only kind and neighborly, they let some stranger with a camera just borrow their Wi-Fi. They are also unbelievably resilient and brave. As I was driving by one of the many lakes in the center of town, I saw this hole cut through the ice with a ladder reaching down into the freezing water. Then I saw people climb in for a swim in January. This city has never bent to winter. ICE will not prevail here, no matter how much Kristi Noem and J.D. Vance slander the good people who call Minneapolis home. After Renee Good was killed, we were told that she was a domestic terrorist, that her death was her own fault.
This was an act of domestic terrorism.
The tragedy of her own making, and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers.
When the people of this city refused to abide those lies, when they refused to accept those slanders, the regime's forces lashed out again. When bullies are confronted, their first instinct is panic.
Shame on you.
Listen, have y'all not learned from the past couple of days? Have you not learned?
Learned what? What's our lesson here? What do you want us to learn?
Following federal agents?
Give me my phone.
The fascists who killed Renee Good thought that the violence they were visiting upon this city would teach it to obey. That's not the lesson the people of Minneapolis learned. I spoke with Jacob Thomas, an Air Force vet who lives in downtown Minneapolis. We caught up with him at a rally outside the Hilton Hotel where ICE agents are staying. You tell me if Jacob seems intimidated. Here in downtown Minneapolis, in front of the Canopy Hilton property, Hilton hotels are hosting ICE agents around the city as they swarm into Minneapolis to continue their immigration enforcement actions against this city. I'm with Jacob Thomas, an Air Force veteran, longtime resident of Minneapolis, who lived just a few blocks from here. Jacob, can you explain to us why it's so loud right here where we're standing?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And it's so loud right now because if there's no justice, there's no peace. And if we can't have safety in our communities and in our streets, then ICE sure as hell isn't getting safety and peace and quiet in their beds while they're trying to sleep before they go out and terrorize us again tomorrow.
In the minutes after Renee Nicole Good was killed by an ICE agent, the Secretary of Homeland Security came out and declared her a domestic terrorist. As an Air Force vet, someone who fought for your country, how did that land with you? When you think of a terrorist,
you think of someone like Renee Good?
Not at all, right? Like Renee was doing exactly what so many of our community members are doing, which is standing up for their neighbors and ensuring that we all live safe and peaceful lives here. The only domestic terrorists that I've seen in Minnesota are the ICE agents who are too scared to have their faces shown because they know what they're doing is wrong. They know what they're doing is illegal and fully unjust. They are the terrorists who are coming into our cities, into our communities, and terrorizing our neighbors, our friends, and our families, just trying to get by and make sure that we can put food on our tables for our families, while they're out here kidnapping our friends, kidnapping our neighbors. For what? Political stunts? Because some orange guy in the White House thinks that they're bad? Absolutely not. Kristi Noem and everyone who is enabling this kind of tomfoolery and shenanigans, they're the terrorists. They're the ones who need to get out of our cities and out of Minnesota.
Why are you here tonight as an Air Force veteran?
I'm here as an Air Force veteran because we know that patriotism means showing up and fighting for our values as a country. We know that this is not what America is supposed to be. America is a place that is supposed to be welcoming, that is supposed to provide a promise for everyone to live and be safe and be who they are and love everyone. That is what we are fighting for. That is what I raised my right hand for. I'm sure it's what we all raised our hand for, to protect our communities, to protect our families, and not to see a government come in and use authoritarian and fascist tactics to try and silence us in dissent.
Do you have a message? If they could hear you, which they can't, but if you were able to deliver a message to the ICE agents who have descended upon your city, what would it be?
My message would be, you know what you are doing is wrong. You know that following orders is not an excuse. And you know that you should be leaving and quitting these unjust jobs and find a real job. Maybe go help your community, actually stay safe, and not take orders from Kristi Noem and Donald Trump, who are trying to divide us and cause hate and harm.
It's Ken Harbaugh with a quick break to tell you about something new coming to the MeidasTouch network. Meidas Defense, serious coverage of the military, national security, and real threats at home and abroad. No spin, no talking points, just expert voices and on-the-ground reporting. Check out Meidas Defense, coming soon to the MeidasTouch network. I also spoke with faith leaders from across the city. Houses of worship have become critical nodes in the response to ICE's repression. One of their main activities has been preparing meals for families who cannot leave their homes for fear of being kidnapped by the ICE agents roaming the streets. Many of these faith leaders were understandably reluctant to go on camera because they worried that the federal government might smash down the doors of their churches. I did speak to a church elder, however. Here's what Doug Padgett, who's been on this show before, had to say.
I'm with Pastor Doug Padgett, an elder at Grace Trinity Church here in the city of Minneapolis. Doug, I would love to get your take on the reaction of the faith community in Minneapolis in the aftermath of the shooting of Renee Good.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Ken. And look, a lot of faith leaders gathered yesterday to raise their moral awareness. But faith leaders know they also need to be working all weekend, including what they're going to do on Sundays. And it's hard for a lot of faith leaders. They don't like to have to speak out on political issues. But a lot of us recognize that this isn't political. This is life and death and safety. There are so many people in this city who are terrified. Protesters who are afraid that ICE agents will shoot them in the face because we watched it happen. Residents of our community, children, like I have children from Mexican heritage who are concerned, even though they're American citizens born here, living scooped out of Target stores and held American citizens. So many people are afraid because of what ICE is doing in the city. So this isn't political. This is about the life and safety of the people living in the city.
Parishioners have been told by clergy, by priests,
yes,
that if they're being targeted by ICE, they have a dispensation not to receive sacraments.
Right.
That seems like an insane thing to be happening in the United States of America in 2026.
You know, when faith leaders have to say to their parishioners, it's not safe for you to come to church because of your federal government. When faith leaders post things, if you run into an authority of the government, be sure that you behave properly because we don't know that they will. Our federal agents take an oath. They promise to uphold the Constitution. And we're having to warn parishioners and citizens of this country to be afraid of our federal government.
What is your message to the ICE agents who are trying to sleep in this hotel right now? They won't be able to hear it from down here, but they might be watching on the live stream.
I hope when they're laying in bed at night, they think, how do they write their resignation letter? I hope they all say that what they saw happen in this city and the way that the federal government has responded supporting that action, that they don't want to be a part of it. I hope that they all have the good conscience and the moral fortitude to say, that is not what I swore an oath to. And that if ICE won't patrol itself, then they should wake up and resign by morning.
I hope ICE agents hear that. I hope that someone who cares about them, a spouse, a child, can find a way to appeal to their conscience, because the regime they serve is corrupt and the mission they have been tasked with is wrong. But if they won't listen to their own conscience, eventually they will have to listen to the American people. Minneapolis is a turning point. So long as ordinary people refuse to surrender their freedom, the Trump regime cannot last. I'll leave you with these clips from the rally at Powderhorn Park, just a few blocks from where Renee Good was killed by an agent of her own government.
But it is all adding up. The fact that in the minutes after the murder, the Secretary of Homeland Security called this woman a domestic terrorist. I've heard probably a dozen times that if she's a domestic terrorist, we're all domestic terrorists. The fact that that video you just referenced was released by a right-wing media outlet because they thought it made their guy look good. I mean, that is another window into the thinking of the ICE leadership and the DHS leadership that are doing this to the city. And the fact that before that ICE agent shot Renee Good in the face and called her an effing bitch, the last thing she said to him, her last words were, "I'm not mad at you, man." You know, that's the other thing that I think needs to be said about this crowd. There is resolve. There is determination. There isn't the kind of angry bloodlust that is being visited upon them, though. This is a crowd that is determined to protect their neighbors and to preserve their freedoms. It's not a vengeful crowd. I feel fortified, 100%. And they are still flowing in. Ben, I know you can't hear Steve, but if you can pan the crowd and show just how far it extends, maybe lift the camera. I can't see the edge of it on any side. They are streaming across the park. It feels like the whole Twin Cities has turned out for this protest. And if they can do it in a city where ICE just murdered one of their neighbors, we ought to be able to do it anywhere in America. We can certainly do it from the comfort of our own homes, behind our own cell phones. We can certainly offer the kind of support to this community, to organizations like Save America Movement that are doing the work of telling the truth, because ICE is trying to drown that out. That's the ultimate message. When you see the number of American flags, it is a patriotic one. These people love their country more than any ICE agent can possibly fathom.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.